morning. When it's raining outside, it would have been easier, right, to stay in bed. My favorite Star Wars movie is Rogue One, which is ironic because in Rogue One there is no hope. You realize about halfway through the movie that nobody in Rogue One is in any other Star Wars movie, so sorry about spoilers, but it's not good. But in the movie she says, rebellions are built on hope. And that's true. So this church soul soothes my rebel soul, and I hope it does yours as well. So as we come in today, we remember what we bring to this community, and we say our offering words together. This church is made up of all of us. It is what we learn together, the work we do together, the fun we have together. It is what we share with one another, with people around us, and with all the world. We now gratefully receive your contribution. Thank you in advance for your generosity.
I invite you to breathe with me. Just take a breath and allow the breath to bring you into your body. We have had stories and songs and words, and we'll have more of that, but right now, just breathe. Yeah. If you need to sigh, sigh. If you need to release anything, release. Just rest for a moment, beloved. We come, all of us, at various times in need of comfort, in need of connection. In a moment, we're going to sing these words, "Comfort me." And before we do, I invite you to just connect with where is it that you perhaps need to find comfort for yourself, for someone that you love, for people you don't know. Who in your life needs to be comforted? And breathe that in. And take another breath, knowing that the breath connects us each to each, all to all. The breath connects us with everything that ever was, connects us with one another in the here and now, and all who live and breathe. And the exhale makes us ancestors for those who will come, that we might indeed be a comfort in a world that needs comfort. So will you sing with me? Comfort me. Go ahead and invite you to take another breath with me. How is it with your soul, beloved? We know that we come, each of us, each day with joys and sorrows, with possibilities and hopes, with dreams, with loves, with losses. Sometimes all of that, and sometimes we come even with the unspeakable. And we create space in most of our services to create a time for sharing what's on our hearts, what's on our soul, to share our joys and our sorrows. We've started to do that here with pebbles. Each one is unique, signifying the uniqueness that you each are and that each of us bring. Some are larger than others, some are smooth, some are a little rough, some are shiny pebbles. So in a moment, I'll invite you up, and if you have a joy or a sorrow, I invite you to come forward and drop a pebble, and you can speak briefly your joy or sorrow, and just a reminder that you can drop a pebble in silence. Because life's calling us at times to say, speak for me and sing with me and share what is on our hearts. I am going to go ahead and begin. I'm holding in my heart the people of Morocco with the earthquake. There are not enough pebbles for the people of Libya. I invite you to come forward if you have a joy or sorrow. It's okay. It's all right.
Hi, Joe's, can you hear this? Okay. Joe's at home Zooming, but he wanted me to thank all of you for your kind wishes and support. He had his second vocal cord surgery, and the doctor said it was a success. We hope it doesn't grow back again, but thank you, yes.
We love you, Joe.
Thank you. Hi, I'm my wife Wendy, and I'm Chris, and we just wanted to say something about it's very welcoming that we know that we're honoring the flaming chalice today because our son has a nice flaming chalice tattoo on his arm, yes. And our son Glenn is going to be getting married at the beginning of October, and all the way from Paula, all the way through Joe, all the way through Pam, he is a product of this church, and we want to thank you all and hold him in your heart, and his fiancée, Alisa.
Our soon-to-be daughter-in-law, Alyssa.
So thank you very much.
I'm Tony. I'm celebrating reconnection to a family member. A family member that I have no memory of as a child. But now, after nearly some 50 plus years, we saw each other, we connected, and we have a lot to catch up on. So I feel very blessed.
I'm Leo. Just wanted to share that my mother's doing well. She feels well and everything. We went to see the oncologist this weekend, And he said, well, her cancer is diminished in some places, but now she has a tumor in her lung. So he's recommending hospice.
I'm sorry, Leo. I'm Jonathan. I have an apology to make to Jamie. I said I have an apology to well, I was at my favorite piano yesterday for about 3 hours, and my butt got sore. I didn't even realize had been that long, and all of a sudden I looked at my watch and 3 hours had gone by. Well, anyway, when I come in here, I always have to lower the piano bench, and because Jamie likes it high and I like it low, and my butt was so sore, I just kind of left and forgot to put it back up where he likes to have it. So.
Well, coincidentally, this is another historical moment, celebratory, and it's all because of these two people here, Betty and Al Fisher, because their son, Charlie, is celebrating his birthday this day. Congratulations, Charlie.
Happy birthday, Charlie. We love you. Put a pebble in.
I'm Darren, and I want to share with you, if you haven't heard, that Megan has been struggling with breathing problems, post-pneumonia, post-bronchitis, post-costochondritis, something like that. Still trying to get a diagnosis, so if you could just keep us in your thoughts, please, while we go down this journey. Thank you.
Spirit of life, Spirit of love, Holy One moving in, through, and among us in this room, through all we love, we pause in this moment, holding all that we've heard, holding all that was spoken and that which was unspoken. In this moment, we hold all who are in need of healing and hope, all who are celebrating, all who are connecting in ways that are meaningful. We hold in our hearts those known and unknown, seen and unseen, who are in need of our love, who are in need of healing and hope, who need to believe that there is a rainbow after rain. And may we, in whatever ways possible, be the rainbow for others. And to ask for and know that you are held when you need that reminder. And you, each of you, this day and in the days to come, know this. You are always and everywhere held in love and mystery, deeper than you can know.
Beginners by Denise Libertov. But we have only begun to love the earth. We have only begun to imagine the fullness of life. How could we tire of hope? So much is in the bud. How can desire fail? We have only begun to imagine justice and mercy, only begun to envision how it might be to live as siblings with beast and flower, not as oppressors. Surely it cannot drag in the silt all that is innocent. Not yet, not yet. There is too much broken that needs to be mended, too much hurt that we have done to each other that cannot yet be forgiven. We have only begun to know the power that is in us. if we would join our solitudes in the communion of struggles. So much is unfolding that must complete its gesture. So much is in bud.
Life is beautiful. It offers itself to us with countless delights and loves, children and prairies, communities and birds. Life is beautiful. So much is in bud. And life is heartbreaking. It offers itself to us with countless demons and losses, hurricanes and floods, anxieties, deaths. Life is heartbreaking. There are hurts not yet forgiven. Life is beautiful, and life is heartbreaking. And we are all just trying to make our way through it in the best that we can, traversing these two realities. Life brings a poignancy to its beauty, and the heartbreak is inescapable no matter if we rail against the dying of the light or embrace life in its fullness. It's all of its depth and it's all of its wonder. I see a difference between evil and the tragic in life. The tragic. The memory dims, loves leave, all are subject to finitude. We deal with that finitude as a condition of life. Evil, on the other hand, is related to preventable suffering, and the proper response to it is to work toward its elimination. I've come to believe that to embrace all of life in its beauty and its tragedy, its loves and its evils, is to live with an open and, yes, a broken heart. And that is what it means to hope. But what is this hope that we're called to? And how dare I speak of hope in the face of the unspeakable and the incomprehensible loss of thousands and thousands of lives in Libya, Morocco, and in war? I was going to change the title of this sermon to How Dare I Speak of Hope? And then I thought, how dare I not? How dare I keep silent and submit to despair when compassion rises and healing beckons and love responds over and over and over again? And to take in the unimagined suffering that we're witnessing, to not turn our faces, but to pray, to reach out with aid, and to even feel with the suffering of others, I believe, is to welcome hope when despair looms like a cloak threatening to cover our faces. And as I've watched the unfolding destruction in northern Africa, I experience myself going through my day doing all the things, all the things. And at the same time, right there in front of my consciousness is the feeling of the suffering with siblings a world away, but to whom I am inextricably linked. And if I may, in meetings that I had this week, they each began with people pausing, aware of our hope, of our privilege, of our comfort in the time of such devastation. This is my hope sermon. I preach some version of it every few years, and I have since I was a seminary student, beginning, as many of you know, my internship on September 9th, 2001. This is my hope sermon, which has had various names, because I need to be reminded of hope, to welcome hope over and over and over. Our theme for the month is the gift of welcome. And so I explore it. How can we welcome hope? As we face personal challenges, the natural stuff of life, we gain the ability to have hope in other areas. With social justice challenges, this hope gains even greater import and even greater prophetic possibilities. the imaginings of justice and mercy necessary to dispel the evils of life births our wholeness, even amidst brokenness, and it births our hope. But what is this hope that we're welcoming in? Many of you, even in the short time that I've been with you, have heard me say that I believe hope is an existential condition that asks us to live in uncertainty and toward an open future. We build boats, we make plans, we go to treatment, we work for justice, not knowing the outcome, but nevertheless venturing forth. Hope has a bad rap these days. I was looking at new articles on hope, and they're articles about, hope is passé, no one should have it, or if you have it, what's wrong with you? I don't believe that, because I think that hope gets a bad rap when it's equated with optimism. Not that there's anything wrong with optimism, particularly for those of you who I know have optimistic personalities and dispositions, which is good. We need you. But optimism is that self-assertive, cheerful assertion of expectation, believing that we will succeed. With optimism, we're told to cheer up, look on the bright side, or that God is on our side. We know, however, that success is not assured, and failure sometimes haunts us. And you've heard me say, I'm not optimistic about the world right now, but I have hope. Wishing, too, is aimed at particular objects. We wish it would all go away, that everything would just get back to normal. And we know, too, that wishes don't always come true. And they have their place in our life, wishing and optimism, but they sometimes don't help us deal with, and can be difficult responses when someone else is dealing with personal sufferings or crises. For these wishes and this optimism, when dashed or unrealized, leave in their wake no resources for reconstruction. For it is the failure of optimism and wishing that leaves us bereft, leaves us to deal with loss of security, health, love, dreams, and meaning. And yet we know that in times of grief, we learn that goodness and fairness don't always prevail. We're faced with trying to make sense out of our lives when the bottom has fallen out and the ground has shifted beneath our feet. And yet, during times of grief, the support, the comfort, the love that we give and receive makes the space for hope, welcomes hope. In the face of intractable illness or war, we grieve and we are changed. Like it or not, bidden or unbidden, in the depths of our souls, from the depths of uncertainty comes the rich stuff of transformation. We are not certain, yet we live in hope. Perhaps not for a cure or the return of a lover or the good old days, but with the possibility that wholeness is possible. Even if curing is not, that there is that in life that calls forth love and impulses to justice, even in the midst of hatred and devastation. There is a love that is holding us, sheltering us, welcoming us. It is love. It is that in life that lures us to beauty, to truth, to goodness. And that, beloved, is the ground of our hope. This is what I call an eyes wide open hope. It means that we stay present to what is, even in the midst of incertitude, in every moment, we stay open to the process. In the space that hope provides, we experience a connection to ourselves and to others. In the words of theologian John Cobb, we open to novelty and creativity in each moment that calls us to weave healing patterns out of our past. In fact, I believe that it is that connection, it is that creativity, and it is that love that express hope. For me, in my personal life, it's enabled me to hope for the wider world. John Cobb also wrote there are those of us who are struggling with us in a realistic hope, who view threats unflinchingly, and he says they do not deny its seriousness either in their thoughts or in their feelings, yet hope is a refusal of despair. They seek openings, assume responsibility, endure failure after failure, and still seek new openings for fresh efforts. That is the spirit of life and love working in us, through us, luring us to hope, welcoming us to hope, and keeping us hoping as a verb. Because I don't think hope is just a noun, it's a verb. Joanna Macy, the Buddhist philosopher and systems theorist, deep ecologist, talks about an active hope, where for years she eschewed the notion of hope, equating it with optimism, and then came out with, yes, active hope, and a way for us to name what is happening and to be able to move through, to look with fresh eyes and move forth in whatever way that we can. Now, perhaps every age has said, if ever there was a time for a need for fresh efforts, it's ours. And certainly we are in need of fresh efforts. To say that these are troubled times would be stating the obvious. Social injustice, poverty, threats to our LGBT, especially trans siblings, looming authoritarianism, environmental degradation, y'all. I don't need to continue the list because we talk about it a lot. These are uncertain times for all of us. But by entering into and struggling with others, we welcome hope and offer hope and live in hope and bear witness to our hope. We're continually called by the Spirit of life to work in and through the incertitude of these times, not to give pat answers and brave predictions as much as we would like to, but to live into the possibility of a reconstituted world. And we ask, if not us, who? If not now, when? Charles Birch talked about hope in a way that I love and a way of living with hope. He says, in the business of living, one must not live by certainties, but by visions, risk, and passions. Visions, risks, and passions. Visions, to see the future in hope and expect change in people and situations. Risks, to venture forth in faith and not to count the cost. To venture forth in faith and not to count the cost. Passion, to feel with all one's heart, to show emotions, to share one's deepest experience. That is what it means to be saved by hope. To feel with all of one's hearts, to show emotions in a world that sometimes says, all the things about how we need to be stoic and how we need to just push forth, show emotions, he says, share from our deepest experiences. This is what it means to be saved by hope. To join our solitudes in the communion of struggle, and we are not alone in our strivings. The Spirit of life, the Spirit of love is present in and through each moment and is indeed the connection and the love that works quietly and persuasively in us all. So much is in bud. But how long can we live in hope? You might ask. For however long there beats in the human heart the longing caused by the breath of a breeze, the caress of the sun, or the pulse of the ocean, for however long there are human beings capable of compassion for the suffering of others unlike themselves, whether the difference be in color, species, language, kind, for however long there are those who feel undeniably connected with all that is and linked in a web of relationality for as long as such people exist and raise their voices on behalf of the earth and all who dwell here, beloved. That is for as long as we can hope. Because hope dies last.
When the winds whip the barricades and day has turned to night, and the storm beats down the shelters of the poor, when the thunder is upon us and we search in vain for light, and fear pounds her fist on every door, as the water rises, our hearts are filled with fright. Still we seek the sight on yonder shore. Hope dies last. It is the flame that feeds the fire. Hope dies last. It is the dream that drives us higher. We revive, we remember, we're not the first, not the last. Ever holding fast, hope dies last. David met Goliath on the battlefield that day, armed with hope, smooth and hard as a stone. Moses faced the Pharaoh and led the children all away till he ascended to the mountain top alone. Still we wander in the wilderness, searching for the way, but to find that we were never far from home. Hope dies last. It is the flame that feeds the fire. Hope dies last. It is the dream that drives us higher. We revive, we remember, not the first, not the last. Ever holding fast, hope dies last. It is the cool breeze in the mine shaft, shipwrecked sailor's dream. Message in a bottle, we are more than we seem. Hope dies last. Every seed we lay to rest, every promise that's foretold, every prayer that we offer up on high, every ship we point to harbor, every hand we reach to hold, every lonely voice that dares to question why, every child we bring to birth, every vision we unfold, every dream that keeps us reaching for the sky. Hope dies last. It is the flame that feeds the fire. Hope dies last. It is the dream that drives us higher. We revive, we remember, not the first, not the last. Ever holding fast, hope dies last. It is the flame that feeds the fire. Hope dies last. It is the dream that drives us higher. We revive, we remember, not the first, not the last. Ever holding fast. Hope dies last.
La esperanza muere última. Hope dies last. You can't lose hope. If you lose hope, you lose everything. Those words were said by Jesse de la Cruz, a retired farm worker in the days before Cesar Chavez and in the founding of the United Farm Workers. I feel there's going to be a change, she said, but we're the ones who are going to do it, not the government with us. There is the saying, La esperanza muere última. Now, these words were written by Studs Terkel, the Chicago author who wrote the book, Hope Dies Last. It's a collection of stories by various people who sat down with him and talked about and wrote about hope. And that's where John McCutcheon, whom we just heard, found the lyrics to this song. I first heard it when I saw John McCutcheon in concert for the first time many years ago during the occupation of Iraq. As he sang, I found that tears were streaming down my face. The losses, the loves, the sorrows, the joys, the stories of hope foreclosed and hope found. Tears streamed down my face, and I saw in the streets that I'd walked with thousands, in the corners I stood on, and the hundreds and hundreds of voices that were trying to be made heard. Tears streamed down in my face, and I saw my patients from years ago who struggled with their disease of chemical dependency, brave teenagers and adults who believed the promises in the big book, and they stayed in the struggle. Tears streamed down my face, and they still do, as I envision the work and activism done on behalf of the poor and the oppressed and the forgotten. Tears stream down my face, and I'm reminded that I am not alone. I am reminded that in all things political and personal, individual and communal, that hope is an essential element in our ability to do more than survive. But it's essential that we do that too. But in order to thrive, we must nurture and foster and welcome hope in ourselves, our children, our church, our community, and our world. As you may have been able to tell, McCutcheon wrote this after Hurricane Katrina. And when I first planned this sermon weeks ago, I didn't intend to use it. But my mind flew to Libya and the dams that didn't hold, and the thousands lost to Morocco in the earthquake, and so many lives devastated by war, and the tears flowed and flowed and flowed as I wrote and thought and prayed, not in despair, but in longing and in love, and yes, in hope. Tears streamed down my face, and I'm reminded that I am not alone, that love's calling always. I'm reminded in all things, that hope dies last. It's about action. It's about ordinary people doing extraordinary things, Roberta Lynch wrote. Something comes along unexpectedly, something no one could have predicted, and that is in the moment that we're in right now is what is it that we are waiting for, that we can create, that we can nurture, that we can see and grow and foster this spark of fresh possibility. And in this church, I was witnessing hope this entire week. Our prison ministry, writing letters to ask that elderly prisoners be paroled, are providing food, our animal ministry that meets today and that will be nurturing us and guiding us into a hope of justice for all beings, our racial equity team that's looking at love knows no stranger, that's looking at how can we ground ourselves in justice and equity, and Shar, who's leading us in the work of our welcoming congregation as we look to see how we can be a refuge, a help, and aid to our trans siblings who are under threat. It's everywhere. Hope is everywhere. Just like that rose coming out of cement, Hope is right here in this room. And if you are hopeless in that moment, this moment, that is okay. Because there's a hand to hold. There's a heart that's beating with yours, and you are not alone. We are in this together. It is not a sprint, it is a marathon, and we're in it together. It's also a relay, and we hand off as we can, and we live in hope. Jacques Cousteau said, each time a person stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out for injustice, they send forth a tiny ripple of hope, crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring. With these ripples build a current that can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression. Let me say that again. These ripples build a current that can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. Don't forget that. If we were logical, the future would be bleak indeed, but we are more than logical. We are human beings with faith, and we have hope. And so, beloved, it is in the here and now that we act in love, in the faith that presses into this moment, and we move toward creating a future, welcoming hope, living in hope. May faith inspire us, love compel us, and hope sustain us. May it be so, and amen. And I love you. Will you join me in our chalice extinguishing words? Although we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of this community, nor the fire of our commitment, these we carry in our hearts and share with all the world. See what happens when they put me in charge of the slides. So for visitors, I'm sorry. It's not a secret thing. It's not like a secret handshake that we expect you to just kind of know. I'm sorry for that unwelcome. But I invite you to take another breath. Remembering how beautiful you are. Look around. Look, I mean, not in an awkward way. You can also look over people so that you can look like you're looking at people if you're an introvert and don't want to make eye contact. But that's the hope. Like we started out with, Paula. We all got up on a rainy morning. We got in our cars or got picked up, and we came to church. We came to be in community. We came to say, come with me. Come with me in this work of hope, and this work of love. So sing with me, would you? Come sing along with me. I invite you to rise or bow to your spirit. It is number 346 if you want a hymnal. Beloved, go in peace. Be makers of peace. Amen. Shanti, shanti, shanti.